Hey guys, welcome to my ASL Starter Kit number 1 scenario. This is scenario number 2 from the Starter Kit, War of the Rats, and it's really good fun. I'm having a great time playing this scenario. It's been a couple decades since I've played Squad Leader or ASL proper. It's been a while, but it's really good fun. I'm having a blast with it. I'll probably put this battle up in several different parts. Not sure how many. I'm going to try and keep each one about a half an hour in length or so. And hopefully when it's all said and done, I'll put it all together in one video, add a little extra content for you guys that may have watched the previous episodes. Give you another reason to watch it, I guess. But we'll see how far we get along today in this part. Again, it's really good fun. If you've never played ASL or Squad Leader, seriously look into it. It's very nostalgic for me, and it's really good fun. World War II tactical combat at its finest. Although detailed, and I do love detail, it's good fun, folks. Give it a shot. Let's jump into the game and see how far we get along. All right, folks, I'm just into the movement phase, or the preparation fire phase, I should say. Did the rally, of course, there's nothing going on, so we jumped right into the prep fire phase for the Germans. Now, I'm not going to cover every detail of the game and every die roll. I'll just basically show you what's going on as we go forward with this, and we'll see later in the battle. I might show some die rolls and other little details as it gets closer and tighter, hopefully, in the battle. But I will show this. You can see all the prep fire I did, and that was basically because I got pretty excited here. This stack, which has a 9.2 liter with it, he directed the fire of this medium machine gun. It's a first line unit, 467, that had that medium machine gun. And I put some substantial fire on this position. This was a first line Russian squad manning this MMG. The first shot was quite successful. I managed to break the unit. And I also rolled low enough that the MMG here, the German MMG, I got to use its rate of fire a second time on this target and destroyed him. So that MMG is all by itself sitting here in this little stone building. So my excitement, I started putting a lot of fire down in this position. Totally ineffective. Here and here both put down some fire. Down here, these two went against this position here, ineffective. And that's about it. So the next thing is going to be the movement phase, and that's probably going to see the elite Germans with their flamethrowers and DC. Probably going to move up, drop smoke, and hopefully gain some ground here in this center area, and possibly here. We'll see. I do have a stack here which has some elites in it. So I'm going to focus on that in the movement phase, drop smoke. And again, keep in mind the special rules for this scenario is that the elites, what are they, 5, 4, 8. So I got some DCs in here as well. All right, that's good to know. Yeah, their special rule for them is they drop smoke successfully on a 4 or less. So that's substantial. That's a big advantage. So I'm definitely going to take advantage of that early on, get them moved forward in the movement phase, and see if I can gain some ground, particularly in this area here, close to this building. So that's next, folks. Now, I'll show you the rest of turn 1, how far I get on this battle plan. Okay, that was fun. Didn't go too well for the Germans. I just finished the Germans' turn, so it's going to be the Russians next. Still in turn 1. Let me see here. As you can see here, we got some of the Germans with DM markers. Yes, they received some considerable fire from these guys over here. I believe these two were firing on this location, and these two fired on this location. These are conscripts with an LMG, and these are also conscripts with an LMG. And turns out that helped, because in both instances, these LMGs got to shoot a second time at the rate of fire. They rolled a 1 on their colored die for their DRM when they attacked. So that was useful. I don't recall how effective those second shots were with their LMGs, but the effect was the same. In both these target areas here, there was a DM. This unit right here is broken and actually got reduced. It met its ELR, so its quality reduced. Can't remember exactly what it was. It's down to a, let's see here. It's actually a 447 now. I think it was a 547, something like that. But yeah, his quality dropped, and he has a DM marker. During the route phase, I also pulled him back. He didn't have to, but I did. To this position here, he entered a new building, and that was that. I just wanted to get him out of the line of fire since he doesn't even have a leader. So, I know, that was a good idea. This guy kept to the front because he does have a leader. He'll be able to rally. Although he's got a +4 for having the DM marker. This is one of the elite units. He didn't get reduced in quality or anything like that, so he still has a morale of 8. So I'm hopeful for him. I don't know, though. Those DM markers are nasty. This is the return fire, the defensive fire phase. I couldn't make use of the smoke, unfortunately. Actually, I did. I did have one unit place some smoke. Pretty much useless since they're removed at the end of the movement phase. So, and the Russians didn't make any defensive fire during the Germans' movement. They saved it all for the defensive fire phase, which is where these guys fired, and just about the whole line fired. The rest of it didn't really do anything. The rest of the Russians. The Germans did advance their elites up into the line, as you can see. And they did take quite substantial fire from the enemy. Like I said, these two were put under DMs. And that was about it. Germans returned fire in the advanced fire phase. There was no advancing, no close combat. That was that. I just could not pull off the smoke. Probably would have been better off putting the elite units forward during deployment. You know, forward instead of back a hex, because that moving up kind of slowed me down enough where it would make using smoke pretty much useless. If I placed the smoke, I really couldn't take advantage of it to get into cover after the fact. And didn't have enough to move into a smoke counter. So it just didn't pan out for me in that case. Right here, I did want to put smoke in this hex, I believe, but this unit could not pull it off. 4 or less on a 6-sider, he couldn't do it, which is unfortunate. And that was the first guy I moved. So that set the pace for the smoke. Pretty much useless, but that's okay. We still have turn 2 coming up. We're going to repeat the process. I do have some elite units capable of putting down smoke effectively for that turn, and by then we should be able to cross that road safely and get to grips with these Russians. I'm afraid the Russians might occupy this MMG before that. We shall see. They have to make a die roll to man that thing. And they got some conscripts here and some conscripts here and some first-line troops here. Makes a difference. As you can tell, the morale is considerably different, as well as their range. But yeah, that's the situation. That's turn 1 for the Germans. Not a whole lot happened. So we're going to go to turn 1 for the Russians and see what they do. We'll skip ahead into the game, into the battle. To either that point or sometime thereafter. So hang in there, folks. It's getting bloody. All right, finish the Russians' turn 1. Again, it doesn't look like a whole lot happened here. But actually, one little heroic incident that took place here is the Russians did try and move those conscripts that were here in there to reman that medium machine gun. Unfortunately, they took a lot of fire from this stack of Germans over here. That includes a medium machine gun and some 5.48s in there. So they put down a lot of hurt, along with the commander here directing the fire. He's a 9-2 or a 9-2, directing the fire on there, and they basically broke the unit. So yeah, that didn't work out too well with them. Residual firepower here was a 6, and nobody moved back in there. So that was it. That unit ended up routing back into this square here. As you can see, he's marked with a DM. That's the conscript unit. And currently the commander there moved up to hopefully get him rallied again during his turn. So that's pretty much all that happened. The Russians did put down some fire in random spots here and there. They didn't really do any marked damage. What do we have up here? This guy's still got his prep fire counter on him. believe he was firing at this stack over here. And that's about it. They didn't really shift or move anything. I am a little bit concerned, though. The Germans are in a good position in turn 2, like I thought they would be, to launch those smoke grenades and cross that street. This position right here is kind of in trouble. They lost one of their units, if you remember. That was this unit, first line unit. They lost that from some pretty brutal firepower earlier during the Germans' turn 1. And now they've got a broken conscript unit, and all that's left is an 8-1 commander, conscript unit here, a 426. The range is only 2. And a 447 first line unit occupying this stone building. This is a stone building here as well, so they've got the cover, but I don't know how well they're going to hold out. So we're going to see what happens. Of course, they didn't get their reinforcements because it was the first turn. They have to roll under the current turn, so you can't roll under a 1. But turn 2, they could do it. They need to roll a 1. If that's the case, then it'll bring on some reinforcements from the southern edge, as I mentioned. But here we are. We're ready to go into turn 2. The Germans are up next. They are in a good position to attack in the center like I had planned. Maybe split, cut these guys off from each other. That would be ideal. And we'll see what happens. Of course, the Germans over here do have a broken unit still. They have to get an officer back there and rally that unit. Yeah. They're going to be down a unit, and I don't think that's good in this battle, though. Germans need every bit of firepower they can muster. All right, folks, that's turn 1 complete. We'll go on into turn 2 and 3 and see where this battle takes us next. It's kind of back and forth at the moment. We'll see if those Germans can lob those smoke grenades and get across that street. Maybe capture a building. This is where I'm going to be paying attention, I think. All right, folks, see you in the next one. All right, so here we are. This is turn 2. Germans just finished their movement phase. I'm going to show you guys what's been going on. What's been actually happening here. Especially in the middle. You got a lot of these residual markers here. You got a 4 there, 4 here. I think these are all from this stack. You can see they're on final fire. That's the MMG. The Russians did put a conscript unit on there. That conscript unit is now broken. And that was the result of using its final fire on this stack, who originally moved here. And they survived. There's smoke placed here as well. And they moved a second time into these, what is that, a building? Yeah, into that stone building. So that allowed him to fire again with final fire. But he had to take that normal morale check. And that's why he is broken. He failed it. So that was that. Put down another 4 residual on this space. But these guys are holding their own. They do have a flamethrower. I'm planning on using that in the advanced fire phase coming up. So there is that. The Germans did make some headway here. Initially, they started their movement with this unit, another elite unit with a DC, demolition charge. And unfortunately, their commander who was with them broke. There's their residual firepower. Again, this fire here came from this unit, I believe. So this medium machine gun's doing a lot here. Firing here, firing here. The Germans put smoke here, and they also put it here. So that did give them some cover. But unfortunately, the German commander was pinned as a result of that. So, yeah, he can't move. So he's stuck in there with the smoke, and the rest of the unit here could not move any further because their normal max is 4 MP per turn, and I was trying to make use of the 6 MP per turn with the commander. But unfortunately, the commander was pinned. So that was that. They remained in their position. This squad is hunkering down with a pinned commander. Right here in the smoke. And this smoke will all be removed at the end of this phase, the end of the movement phase. So that's that. So this is the situation here. The Germans are making headway. They're occupying this stone building. This unit of conscripts, they were manning the machine gun, which they did in, I believe, in the first phase of the game. The what is it called? Oh, jeez, I forgot the name of the first phase of the game. It is the rally phase. Duh. So I was able to man that at that point. made his die roll, he manned it. So, but unfortunately, he's not broken. So they're probably going to pull away in the rout phase and leave the medium machine gun behind because it's too heavy, too many portage points. Also, if you remember, they're also broken here. So the conscripts are not holding the position very well. They got one first line unit left. That's defending this central building. There's nothing going on over here, although the preparation fire, or not the prep phase, but the defensive fire phase will be coming up soon. Next, in fact, after the movement phase. And that's probably where these Russians are just going to let off some shots and see what they can do. Down here, same thing. The engineers or elite Germans here put down some smoke at this position. But they were first fired, defensive fired, after doing so by this unit and this unit. This is a conscript unit, range 2, but it has a LMG. Adds 2 firepower. So what is that, 6? I think it's, what is that? 4 firepower, 2 range. So it was a total of 6. This unit also defensive fired, and it doubled its firepower of 4, so it became 8. So the fire group, they had quite a bit of firepower coming in on this position where the smoke had been laid. Now this unit here chose to advance, and that's it. So it wasn't subject to the penalties for moving in the open because of the smoke and for using non-advance movement. So neither penalty applied in this case, so they survived that. It's only an 8-0 commander. And you'll also notice that I did not use his DC, which he has. I could have done that. It would cost me, I believe, 2 movement points to throw it in here, get rid of these first line troops in that stone building, but I didn't want to risk it because of the initial residual firepower, which I'd have to get through for spending another 2 MP. Plus, they can also fire again. This one was adjacent to the target, so well, I believe he could first fire again because he spent movement points in this square again. I'll have to check that. I believe that's the situation. But he couldn't because he's not adjacent to this target. So there'd be some more firing going on in here. Just didn't want to risk it. I don't know. Everybody tells me, go ahead and lob those DCs ASAP. You know, maybe I should. But we're going to wait on to that. My goal here, anyway, is to advance into here in the advance phase and close combat that guy. I think I can do it with my commander, who is an 8-0. I don't know if that's going to help. Probably not. But he's there boosting the boys on anyway. And they do have their better troops anyway. So we'll see what happens here. And yeah, that's that. So a lot going on. The Germans are making some headway. This position is still questionable if the Germans can take it. Over here, I'm probably going to close combat as well. This position here, if they don't rout first, well, they're going to be wiped out, I'm sure. They are broken. Got to remember that. Yeah, that's the situation. So there you go, folks. I'm going to finish turn 2 for the Germans and see if they can get some headway in these stone buildings. Reinforcements have not showed up, of course, yet. That's the start of the German turn. Let's see what happens. All right, folks, hang in there. I'll be back. All right, so the Germans finished their turn 2. Yeah, it's kind of interesting what happened. There was no close combats. Remember the units that were over here. There was a unit here, right here, the stack. My plan with them was to originally close assault this position, get some close combat going on, and they failed. Defensive fire phase. This unit was able to fire again because it was adjacent. It was given, I think it was first fire, so it was capable of firing again. Half, doubled because it's point blank, so on and so forth. Well, yeah, they broke. The unit broke. The leader passed, but the unit, which is elite, with a morale of 8, it did actually break and eventually fell back to these stone buildings. The leader is with them. So that was a failure. And these guys, keep in mind, have a DC, demolition charge. So I never got a chance to use it. I'm lobbing into here in the advanced phase. So that was it. What else? Oh yeah, by the way, these guys are broken. They took a quality reduction as well as a quantity reduction. So they're down to a morale of 4 with a DM of +4. So I don't think they're going anywhere. Yeah, this unit was reduced. It's now a half squad in size, and it's, I believe, the lowest you can be. It's a 226 for these guys, I believe. So that's what happened to them. So this position has been nullified pretty much. I won't expect these guys to play a role in the battle, really. So that helps. We still got some light machine guns to deal with, conscript units waiting, as well as a commander and a line unit. So the Russians are still fairly strong here. There isn't much opposing them. This unit here is elite, but it's broken. Commander is okay. They got DC. This unit back here with their LMG is also broken. I think they're just first line troops. And here's a first line unit. It's the only one engaged at the moment. So unfortunately, the Germans are having a setback here. As far as this position was concerned, well, the Germans have taken that position with the medium machine gun, with their elite unit with a flamethrower. They originally were here. These guys were here. Remember, their commander was pinned. These guys weren't, so they eventually advanced into this stone building. After this stack advanced into this stone building, this medium machine gun is now up for grabs. But the flamethrower did actually fire on this unit down here as well, and that's another reason why there was so much reduction on this unit. Of course, the range was long range. It was the advanced fire phase, I believe, so it wasn't halved for that. It was halved for the range, I believe. And the infantry, which are 5.48s, also fired as well, separately, on this same position, of course. And then they advanced into this position where the medium machine gun is, so that's all good. And like I said before, this unit of elites originally here advanced into this position. It was a pretty hairy situation to be in because the smoke, of course, dissipated at the end of the movement phase of turn 2 for the Germans. And the Russians were able to get some more extra shots in the defensive fire phase on them. But they all survived, except for these guys over here, which broke. And of course, right here, this is where the two broken units are located inside this stone building, which is an objective. We got that unit right there, and another unit, which is DM, and this unit here as well. I believe they're both conscripts. Yes. So the conscripts, true to form, have fallen back broken. At least they're with their commander. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get rid of that DM marker, if you remember. That was placed, but they're not going to be able to remove that at the start of their turn, which is next, because of this adjacent German unit. So that's going to cause an issue. So morale is a big problem here for the Russians in the middle. So they're not doing too well here. I mean, literally, they only have this one first-line unit held up in the stone building to defend this building with. And the Germans are breaking through like I envisioned. Come break through the center here and kind of separate these two from each other. Although the Germans are being pretty slowed up here. Over here, pretty much both sides are just taking shots at one another. These stacks, and this one here and there. And that's about it. So there was some prep fire here, of course, if you remember, and some defensive fire, whatever. But there's nothing going on over here. No casualties, just taking pot shots at one another. So that's the situation. Let me think. Anything else happen here? It's interesting. No heroics, nothing like that. There was a couple little things that happened because of the dice rolls, but I don't remember what they were. Yeah, so turn 2 for the Germans they weren't too lucky. There's a lot of more prep fire than I would want to do. Smoke, they were pretty fortunate to get at least 2 smokes down, which helped. But I was not able to get into close combat like I planned, and they did take this position. So this is kind of going the way I want it to, as long as he gets supported, which he is, by this unit back here. So there's 2 squads, another 9-1. We'll see what happens. This medium machine gun is pretty useful. It's manned by first-line troops. We'll see what happens. The Russians are next. They're probably going to... not sure what they're going to do, but they've got to start looking at this middle section. They're pretty secure here at the moment. Not a big threat. And this doesn't seem to be going anywhere either, so it's really all down to this. And of course, if you remember, the Russians do get to make that die roll to see if they get their reinforcements. In fact, let's do that right now. Let's bring down a my little dice tray here. And let's count the red dice. They need to roll equal or less than, is it equal or less than? No, less than the current turn number. The current turn is 2, so they need a 1. We're going to count the red dice. That's appropriate. 3. They did not get it, so they're not getting the reinforcements this turn either. All right, folks, we're going to go into the Russian turn 2 next. Let's see what I come up with. Probably got to figure out what to do here. Everything else is pretty stable. I might draw some troops from here. I don't know. I have no smoke capabilities for the Russians. But then again, you know, if they lose 1 building or even 2, they're still going to win the scenario. But I would prefer to keep all 3. Honors to the Russians if they do. All right, folks, I'm going to turn 2.